Hello, friends. Today we'll be looking at a website from Robinson. It is a short and simple personal website, as you can see, and you can also see that the font is not that visible, but that's what the author chose to do. Other thing that I wanted to mention is that the best way to learn like HTML or any programming language is to actually do it or program something. Tutorials can only take you that far, or it can just scratch the surface. I'm creating these tutorials for myself as well as for the others who might want to uh, get some headway into HTML and things like that. If it can help them, very good. But I'm also doing it for myself as well, uh, and just trying to spread the knowledge about it. So let's go into it and let's have a look. So as you know, is that any HTML document will always start with this tag. Remember, this is not an HTML element, but it's just a tag. Now, this doc type HTML tag just tells the browser, or it's an instruction to the browser that use do not use the quirks mode, or it's just a new manual, uh, or it just tells the browser that do not use the old manual and just use the new manual for parsing the HTML, right? Quirks mode is basically a mode that was used during the times of like in the 90s and the early 2000s for the IE web browser, uh, to get around some of the flaws of that browser. But nowadays, we are going to use HTML5, and that is what this particular instruction is telling the browser, that this website is written in HTML5. Okay, then now the next uh, element is the HTML element, which is the root element of your HTML document. HTML always starts with this root element, and then the other two other major tags within this HTML tag are the head and the body. And tags always start with the name of the tag and end with the name of the tag with a forward slash and then the name of the tag, right? Same thing you can see here with the body. Starts with the name body and then ends with a forward slash and body. So these are the main elements of an HTML document. Similarly, the importance of this tag of this particular instruction is quite a lot, because with this instruction it improves the rendering of your HTML, right, on the web browsers, as well as the performance, because it doesn't have to go into that quirks mode, um, as we know. So now let's dive into the head element. Always remember that the head element um, only has data which is like a metadata for the browser. It tells us more about the web page, and it has instructions for this website. For example, it'll have your where your style sheets or the styles for this website is located, where some of the scripts like your JavaScript scripts are located, and so on. So as we go through it, you will know that uh, what kind of information the head tag gives us. Okay, so let's start from the first tag is the meta name viewport tag, and it has got the other attribute as content. Now, what this is telling is that nowadays, since we have various kind of displays, and the website should appear correctly or should be responsive to all those displays. So even if we look at it in a mobile view, it should look good, and it should not none of the lines should overflow, or anything should not be out of proportion. And that is what this one instruction is actually doing, or one HTML tag is telling the browser. um, and then browser behind the scenes would do the magic to display it correctly on different displays. And it is a very common tag that you'll have come across a lot, or I have come across a lot of HTMLs as I review them, or websites as I review them. The next tag is the content. Is the name, as you saw, the name over here was viewport. The name here is description, and the content of it is basically the name of the author. So this is very good for SEO. What it does is it tells the search engines, um, and for example, for accessibility, it tells the screen readers that um, this is a personal page. This is the page of Elise Y. Robinson. I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Okay. The next tag is the title tag. The title tag is the only tag that actually shows up on the web, not exactly on the web page, but in the tab of that web page. As you can see, the name shows up as El- Elise Y. Robinson. And this is also a very common tag. Then we are looking at the next tag is the style. So there are two ways you could have the styles or the CSS styles or the styling of your website. Either you could have it in a separate file, or you could, which you normally do with a link tag, or you could also have it, um, all your styles like inline on the web page, as you can see here. And why is it looking like this is because it has been minified. Normally you would just like minify your CSS so that it improves the performance of the page. In this case, it's not that much required because it's just a one page website and performance is not that important. But as you can see in the styles, you have an HTML tag, and it says that so this is the styling for your HTML tag, and I want it to look this way. I want the height to be this. I want the width to be this, right? And then you have the body tag. I want the font in the body to be these many pixels, and I want it to be Georgia, and then sheriff, and so on, and the color of that, along with the padding and various other things. So this is basically a style sheet. We won't go in much detail about it, but it has got for each and every HTML element, it has mentioned some kind of style here, right? And very simple, very easy to understand what styles have been mentioned here. So the author has just packed it up in this style tag. Now, this particular tag, I think it's a part of an auto insertion by the my browser itself, and of not much relevance. That completes the head. A very simple, very sweet head um, category. The head element, and now the next is the body element. Normally, the body element the body element is the one that actually contains what is in the web is on your web page or shows up on the web page. And as you can see, as I hover over it, you can see this whole thing goes a kind of a blue color, right? Which is indicating that all of that is the body, right, from the top to the bottom of the web page. And then this body tag has a attribute called lang, which is equal to en, which is English. This is just for the screen readers and for general like crawlers and bots. Tell them that the website is written basically in English, so it helps, like for example, the screen readers to do better pronunciations, or even it might help like translators, right, to translate your web page in some other language. If it already knows what is the source language, doesn't have to guess. This particular tag is normally supposed to be in the HTML, on the HTML, right at the beginning of your document. Okay. So this is one of the only websites where I've seen this here, this tag being mentioned here. Okay. Now the body has two important tags. One is the div tag. The div tag contains almost all of your, almost all of the, you can see it contains almost all of the content or the largest content of this web page, right? And it defines the width and everything. As you see, as I play around with the width, it either expands, and then when I select again, it'll contract in. It's got the margins and the paddings. When you remove that, You see how it's affecting it. So you can see the style sheet, the styles that were mentioned on the index, because it's the index page on line number 10, they are coming into play out here, right? Because we are not using any specific style sheet, but uh, we are just given all the styles here, right, in the under the style tag. So let's go. So there are two tags. One is the div tag and one is the footer. The footer has, as you can see, it's got the year of the copyright, right? Um, and this year they keep it current. So it looks like you'll have to just manually keep it current. Let's go into the div tag now and see what the content is. So starting is the name of the person or the name of the author, Elise, and uh, and that is in the h1 tag, and normally that is the practice. It's a very good practice because your h1, h2, and h3 tags are basically um, defining kind of the structure of the page, where the h1 tag is like your main heading, h2 is like a subheading, h3 is maybe the sections within that heading. And as you can see, it is h1 is as the tag with the biggest, like kind of the font sizes, is the biggest with 2em, right? And then yeah, I'll have to even study as to what the 2em is, because indicating the height, right? Okay, and then as you can see, the name is under the tag called definition. Now dfn, the definition. So now let's go back. Let's go to MDN and see the definition. That's where I see it, either in this or in ChatGPT. For now, we'll just look it up. Look it up in MDN. As you can see, the definition indicates a term to be defined. Okay. So as you can see here in the we have the term is a validator is a program that checks for syntax errors in the code or document. So the validator is the term, and then the def is followed by the definition. So here the name they have given as a definition, maybe it's just like a playing around with the HTML elements. I think, oh, this is the name, this is my profile, so I am being defined here, right? Something like that. And subsequently they have used the superscript. I don't know why, like Robinson 1, Robinson square, Robinson cubed. Maybe I don't know the intent of the author behind having this. Normally you would use these in equations, right? Like a squared plus b squared and so on. So if you look at the soup and you see the example here, for example, this is an equation, the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and the superscript is 2. But they've used it pretty creatively out here, I guess, like this one, but the intent is not known. That completes the h1 tag. Then they've used the small tag, and it says that. So now if you look at the definition of what small is basically represents a side comments, right? A small print like copyright, legal text, independence of its styled presentation, and it'll render one font size smaller, such as from small to x small. So, and you can see it's pretty small here. They have given, I think what they have done is they have said Elise, which is the name, and the meaning of the name pledged to God. Again, I'm not very certain if that is the case, but to me it looks like that's what the author is trying to say, that this is my name and this is what it means. And again, in small, it's not an important text, it's just it's there, right? That's what it the definition is, limit with side comments and small print, and that's what it looks like. You can also use it in the copyright. And then you have it say the noun. My next section is the noun. Okay, so it's called a noun. I don't understand that as well. Let me know in the comments if you do understand why it is given that way. um, and then they are followed OL, right? An ordered lists. An ordered list, there are two things: ordered list and unordered list, right? There's in fact one more, but for now let's just look at the ordered list, and then there is the unordered list. Now you have wherever you have like steps, that you need to follow, you'll always use an ordered list. For example, in a recipe, you always need to follow the recipe in a certain order, and you have an OL, that is an ordered list. As you can see, li, so automatically it comes up as one dot, right? Because this is my first step. It's just more creative use by the author here. Values, they value clear and open communication and so forth, right? Loves continuous growth and learning. That's all about the OL tag that's been used here. I've seen more of the UL tag being used. And then the next one is again very, because this is a subsection under the heading or of the personal website. It's been used along with the HU tag. It is very good for accessibility, right? Um, and it is also very good for SEO. But in this case, this is a personal website, but still, it is something that if it is good for accessibility, it is always an advantage, and that it can be used by more people and and uh, and appreciate. Now, the next is just a simple paragraph. Elise, writing, I think, in third person, believes in clarity, fairness, support, ethics, connection. Very good. All of us should strive to believe in all these things. And then you live only once, absolutely right. And closed mouths don't get fed. Good. And as you can see, they've used the BR tag to, which is the line break. So if the BR tag is not there, everything will just appear on one line. So if you were to just go ahead and say, I think, delete the element, um, delete this BR tag. Yeah, let's delete one more to see the impact here. So it'll, once you delete the BR tags, the spacing becomes less. I'm not sure. I think it's not able to interpret it on the fly, but that's what it's supposed to do, right? It's used for spacing. You could use like a pre-tag also, where you don't wouldn't need a break tag like this, but like for example, you could, I think it's more, it's use pre tag or the pre-tag, like a poetry or something. I can show you that here. So I was talking about this particular tag, the pre-tag, right? Represents pre-formatted text, which is to be presented exactly as written in the HTML file. As you can see how this is written, normally if you don't write this in a pre-tag, and if you had written this in any other tag, you would have to provide like a break statement after each of these. Otherwise, they would just appear in one line. Okay, so that completes your paragraph here. And then nice to have the footer here. Very important that if you have a footer, you mention it's a footer. Again, very good for accessibility. And then they have this thing called a small, right? As we had seen on top, they'd use a small even for this particular, like I think they had the name and then what it means. They'd use a small thing, and then you see it's as small as this one here. So they have used the copyright symbol and the small. But remember, the small is appearing different than the small. That's because it's been styled, because for each of the things he has a particular style. So he has a font size of 12 pixels, right? If you were to remove that, I'm not seeing that change happen, but if you were to remove that, it would definitely be a bigger size. And it will go default back to what a small size is basically just one smaller size than what is there in the parent or something, right? Let's just have a look at it because I remember it. So right, by default renders text within it one font size smaller, such as from small to x small. I'm just saying one font size smaller relative to what would be my question, but that's fine. Let's, I think it's relative to whatever is being followed here, right? So if it's 12 pixels, it'll display it in 11 pixels or something. This is the sentence, first sentence, which is not small, and then you can see the next sentence is small, and you see one font size smaller. Okay, so that completes the review of the HTML on the site. Now sometimes I would even go and check it in the validator to see if it's got any. So small website should not, it should have everything pretty neat and clean, but it still has a warning, as I told you, that the language attribute is best in the HTML tag. And as you see, that is not in the HTML tag, but in the body tag here. Okay, so that's the validation. You can put your websites under this, and it will give you a good list of what the validator doesn't see as good, because once you correct that, your accessibility, your SEO becomes good. And there's another site from Google, which is your page speed. It measures your performance, accessibility, best practices. So it's all 100, right? The performance and everything's 100. Under a second, things are painted on the screen. And so it's got one pet peeve, I guess. And I think it's with the accessibility has gone down to 85% because of the language not being in HTML. It's a small file, so it's picky with that. And then the rest of it, like best practices, is normally around security. It's 100%, but you'll see that this number is not like that great. Now we use another tool to look at to look more at the security policies, which are more to do with the headers that are sent across. And then is the SEO, again the SEO, because the tags have been used beautifully, like the footer H1 H2 tags. That's why it's at 100%. Just for mobile, and similar numbers you would see for the desktop. Now there is one more like kind of report you can get out of the site is important report if you're running like a serious website. um, like your HTTP observatory report, which is more on the security, what headers you should have defined. They get a score of 50 out of 100. It's passed 7 out of 10 tests, and so it's not bad. I've seen worse. This is so it doesn't have a CSP header, right? And some of the other headers are also missing. These headers you define on the server on which the web server on which the site is being hosted. You can look more into it. These are good. There's good stuff here. So you could look more into it if you're interested. But for now, I think that's about it. See you. Have a nice day.